This is a bearish straddle, and it's the opposite position from a bull straddle. And if you recall, straddles are basically non-directional speculations. In other words, you just expect either a large move in the case of a bull straddle or very little movement in the case of a bearish straddle. So bearish straddles sell option premium, both calls and puts, and bet on small moves in the stock. So looking at this example, you have Adobe Systems trading at 195, and with earnings approaching, you believe that it'll be great or terrible. You don't know which, and you, in that case, would be thinking that I want to bet on lots of volatility. That would be a bull straddle. In this case, here we're betting that earnings come and go, no big deal. Stock doesn't move much. So you just want to collect option premium by selling calls and puts around the 195 stock price. And like all sellers of option premium, you have limited upside, just the premium collected, but you have potentially large downsides because one, the stock could just double or, keep on going. Or two, if it does fall, it could fall from 195 down to zero. And sellers of options are exposed to that risk. So let's take a look at this problem. We're selling 5 call contracts at 195, and they happen to go for 195. We're selling 5 put contracts at $2, and those are the 195 strikes. So we're setting up a position right around the stock price of 195 and collecting premium. Total amount of premium collected, 5 call contracts, 500 shares times 195, 5 put contracts, 500 shares times $2. It's almost $2,000 in premium collected. Now, if the stock doesn't move more than this amount, that's about $3.95, 195 and $2. If the stock doesn't move about $4 from 195, your bearish straddle will be successful. If the stock moves more, then the bearish straddle will lose. So we're going to evaluate this at price of 190, so falling $5, and a price of 210, rising $15, and see how we do. Our short, put, and call positions, the payoff formulas you have there. And so let's take a look and see what we get. So here's what we look like in a diagram. The almost $4 in premium. If prices don't move from 195, we would keep. And if stock prices go down, eventually the $4 profit will go to zero, and then you'll take on losses as stock prices move further down. On the other end of it, if stock prices move higher than $4, then profits would be zero, and as you go beyond $4, in other words, 200, 205, you'll start taking on losses on higher moves. So bearish straddle, limited payoff, potential for large downsides. It's a speculation on no movement. So when we look at this, selling the 5 contracts puts, 5 contracts calls, strike prices 195 because that's where the stock price is. That's a straddle. If you wanted to strangle, you would actually use out of the money. You'd sell 190s and 200s instead of 195s as strikes. But this is a straddle, so everything's at the money. And we will evaluate it based on the 2 end results to see how either would do. If Adobe falls to 190, that's a $5 move. We only collected $4 in premium roughly, so we're going to have a small loss. We could see that at 190, the long call would be worth 0. The long put would be worth 5. We're sellers, however, so the short call is 0 still, but the short call is a loss of 5 times the 500 contracts, 2,500 in loss. Recall that we had collected $19.75 in premium, so our net loss $5.25. If the stock price were to ramp up significantly after earnings, go to 210, the long call would be very profitable, $15. 210 minus 195. The long put doesn't matter, max of 0, or X minus S, which is a negative, so it's 0. So the $15 long call position, remember, we're short calls in a bearish straddle. So that's $15 loss, 500 shares, $7,500. And it's offset by the $19.75 that we collected from selling premium. So $5,525 loss from this bearish straddle. Why? Because we had $4 either side we could move, $3.95. Stock moved 5 to the downside, moved 15 to the upside in the other scenario. Both were greater than the premium collected, both were losses. So that's the risk of a short option position and the risk of a bearish straddle.